Real.
Welcome to Straight Real, where I give it to you straight. I'm your host, King J. So what I wanted to talk about is an event that happened a couple days ago in the Congress. The House Democrats organized a sit-in to protest the fact that the House Republicans would not put forth or vote on a gun control bill. So gun control legislation was put forth by the Democrats in the Congress following the Orlando shooting at the nightclub, which killed around 100 people. So they put forth this bill and the Republicans refused to even have a vote on it. So what the Democrats did is organize a sit-in and said pretty much, I'm tired of this. So the sit-in is something that was done that started back in the 50s and 60s. It's a way of protesting. It started normally at lunch counters in certain restaurants in certain places in the Jim Crow South that were segregated, and people would sit in and wait for the police to come arrest them because they were making a statement. This protest was orchestrated and led by Congressman John Lewis of Georgia. And a lot of people know Congressman John Lewis, marched with Dr. King. You can see pictures of him on the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, on a day that they call Bloody Sunday. He actually was beat unconscious, and he was a big part of that protest back then. So he was the one who led this particular protest in Congress. And from what I gather from all this is, I think it's a shame that we have to resort to this, that our U.S. representatives have to resort to a sit-in to actually get something done or something accomplished. I mean, the way I see it is, it shows you that America really hasn't changed much. Really, I think there's a bunch of adults that are being childish or just really caving in to the special interests that fund them and fund their campaigns, as opposed to looking out for the welfare of the people. Now, if they do pass this legislation, will it really mean anything? Will it really change anything? We don't know. But what the Democrats are asking for is just to put it up for a vote. And in the House, we already know most likely it's going to get voted down because the Republicans have a majority in the House. They also have a small majority in the Senate, if I'm not mistaken. Now, that could all change in November, but they can't get a vote on it. So at this point, a lot of people are saying, and a lot of people are just looking at this and determining that this is the most dysfunctional that government has ever been in the history of this country. And most of it is due to the fact that there's so much money involved in politics. That's what I think. I think that the money has corrupted the political system, and now you get things like this where nobody wants to budge, nobody wants to compromise, nobody wants to talk, and nobody wants to do what's sensible. I mean, there are a lot of common sense solutions to this. I don't think there's one solution to this. As a matter of fact, I kind of see where both sides are coming from when it comes to this whole gun control argument. The gun control legislation, of course, includes running background checks on people before they can purchase a gun, especially before they purchase a assault weapon. Now, I think that protecting the Second Amendment is important. I think that we should all have the right to bear arms. But people need to understand that when the Constitution was written back in the 1700s, back then they didn't have AK-47s. They didn't have AR-15s back then. So the mindset was a lot different then, and the times they were living in was a lot different than it is now. Back then, the Second Amendment was passed to keep government from imposing their will on people. So really it was to prevent government tyranny. I think there's less of a chance for that to happen today. I think it's possible, but I think it will only happen if we allow it to happen. Nowadays, with the technology we have, the social media that we have, where we can communicate with each other and keep up with what's going on in the world, I think that the government has to not only keep us in check as a society to a certain extent, but we get to keep the government in check too. And I think that, Republicans are very hypocritical. They have some nerve saying that they don't want government imposing on certain rights when they pass these voter ID laws that make it harder for people to vote. That's the true definition of government overstepping their boundaries. So I think that, they talk about government tyranny and personal responsibility only when it benefits them. Because another situation, another issue that they overstep their bounds on is abortion. They want the government to have the right to tell women that they can't get abortions. They want to outlaw abortion altogether. So I think with certain issues, you can't have it both ways. I think they're with government tyranny on some issues, but not on others. And they said that the whole Democratic protest was a publicity stunt. Maybe part of it was a publicity stunt, but at the end of the day, that's what you want, because you want to get the public's attention. So that's the whole point, is for it to be a publicity stunt. Like I said, I don't know if any real results will come out of this. I think the main reason the Democrats are doing this is to bring it to the attention, and like Dr. King said, to dramatize the issue so that people can be more aware of it. Dr. King said what you have to do is you have to take these issues and you have to dramatize it. You have to make it so horrific that people have no choice but to pay attention to it. And I think that Congressman Lewis is taking a page from that playbook. So as of right now in Congress, they're at a standoff. The House Speaker, Paul Ryan, he's saying that, the Democrats don't really care whether they get anything done on this. They're just doing this for attention. The Democrats are saying that they're not budging. So this, again, is another standoff, just like we had a standoff during the government shutdown situation. So this is where we are now with our government, with our so-called government. So the Democrats have come up with this slogan called "No Bill, No Break," basically saying if you all don't put this bill up for a vote, you don't get a break. You don't get to go home and have a summer break or whatever type of break they get around this time of year. I would take it a step further. I would say no paycheck. I don't think Congress should get paid unless they're actually working, just like anybody else. Also, I think that Congress, men and women, should have term limits so that they can't stay in Congress for 20 or 30 years, and just sit on their butts and do nothing. Because I don't think it's fair to the rest of us that actually have to work and get things done. So that's where I stand. I don't think they should get paid. And also, the people in Congress who don't think we should raise the minimum wage, I think if you're opposed to raising the minimum wage, I think we should make the people in Congress who vote against it, we should allow them to live off minimum wage. We should make them live off minimum wage for a while, because we're the ones paying them anyway. So we should have them live off minimum wage and see how much they like it, and see how much they can survive off minimum wage. That's the only way they'll understand. So I just never understood the argument against raising minimum wage, which is a whole different topic. A lot of people say if you raise the minimum wage, then companies will have to cut back, and they'll have to start shedding jobs because it will cost too much. I think it's very outrageous that companies can't afford to raise the minimum wage, but they can afford to pay executives millions of dollars every year and give out big bonuses to their executives. They can afford to do that, but can't afford to raise the minimum wage. So at the end of the day, I think they need to cut some of those salaries at the top, or cut out, or at least cut down some of those bonuses. You know, you have to give something to get something. So the fact that these corporations want to have their cake and eat it too, really, to me, is just ridiculous. It's just nonsense to me. So I want to see what comes out of this whole protest. I'm eager to see what comes out of it. My guess is not much, but maybe, you know, we can be a little more optimistic, and maybe, you know, something will come out of it. But we see how much Congress gets done these days, and that's why they have about a 10% approval rating, because not much comes out of Congress these days. So we'll see what happens at the end. Post your comments and let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you think will come out of all of this, or if the Democrats would get the results that they're looking for. But until next time, peace.